I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and it's a really exciting dogfight this time around because we've done a lot of Apple and Samsung and LG, but this dogfight is between two HTC heavyweights. One is the HTC Droid DNA. The sucker's on Verizon right now for $199, and it's packing a 1080p HD display, an 8-megapixel camera, and an awesome quad-core processor. Then you have the HTC One X Plus over here on AT&T with 64 gigabytes of internal storage and a lot of great improvements over the original device, the One X, which launched earlier in the year. Which one's going to win the dogfight? We'll find out. But first, take a look at our sponsor, Best Buy Mobile, because they provide us with awesome devices for use in our One Paw Bandit giveaway game. When you go into Best Buy Mobile, you'll walk out working, regardless of which device you buy, or even if you buy an LG or a Samsung or an HTC or an Apple device, you'll walk out working. They'll help you set up your email, your web, your contacts and settings, so when you walk out the door, you're good to go at Best Buy Mobile. Let's take a look. Droid DNA, One X Plus. Which one's going to take home the gold medal? We'll find out, starting right now. The news reports are all about Apple and Samsung, and if you thought CNN was the defining authority, you'd think those are the only two manufacturers. That's not the case, friends. You've got HTC and a bunch of other awesome manufacturers out there making great devices for the holiday season. Two of those are right here in this dogfight. One is the HTC Droid DNA. It's an exclusive to Verizon, and it's packing some really awesome specifications, including some new industry features, I should say, that are awesome. We'll talk about in just a second. Then this is the HTC One X Plus. It's a revision, kind of an evolutionary update of a device that we saw earlier in the year on AT&T, the HTC One X. Specs-wise, over here, 1.5 gigahertz quad-core Snapdragon S4 Pro CPU, so quad-core processor. It's got a 5-inch, and here's where it gets awesome, a 5-inch 1080p HD display. So this is the first 1080p display on a smartphone, and it's on HTC, on a device that's coming to Verizon Wireless, or is available, I should say, at Verizon Wireless right now. Packing an 8-megapixel camera with a 1080p HD image sensor here, so you can snap videos at 1080p, 2020 milliamp hour non-removable battery. Like I said, big 5-inch display, front-facing camera. You got Android 4.1, also known as Jelly Bean over here, with HTC Sense version 4 Plus. So an evolutionary update from Sense 4 to 4 Plus with some new features, which we'll talk about a little bit later in this video and in part 2 of the dogfight. So I'd encourage you to stick around and take a look at that video when you can. Available now on Verizon Wireless for $199.99. It's got 2 gigabytes of RAM and it's got 16 gigabytes of internal storage. Here's where it gets kind of interesting. A lot of people are kind of complaining about two things. One, that the 2020 milliamp hour battery isn't enough, and two, that the 16 gigabytes of internal storage isn't enough. Verizon's countering that with saying, hey, you know what, cloud storage has been out for a while. You can take it to the cloud once you get to 16 gigabytes. Some people agree, some people disagree. Data plans, yada yada, you understand the battle between that. I'll leave that to you to decide, and that'll be a defining point in your dogfight a little bit later, but it's something that's certainly interesting. Over here, 1.7 gigahertz quad-core NVIDIA Tegra 3 processor. You've got a 4.7-inch 720p HD display. Like I said, you're going to tell pretty quickly that this is an evolutionary update to the One X, which was announced and released earlier in the year on AT&T. The design is even the same for the most part, although you remove quite a few of the accents. It's just a black device all around, no red accents or anything around the camera, but the design is very similar, if not identical. Like I said, 4.7-inch display, 720p. Over here, you've got an 8-megapixel camera with HTC's Image Sense chip, which is what this has as well, with a 1080p HD video recording capability. You've got a 2100 milliamp hour battery, so a big bump up from the 1800 milliamp hour battery that was in the HTC One X. What it does have that's really cool is 64 gigabytes of internal storage. So a ton of storage. Compare this to the iPhone 5, for example, on AT&T. $199 for this. 64 gigs on the iPhone 5, $399. So you can really see, at least from a value play there, on storage alone, it's a really nice deal. Android 4.1, like I said over here, Sense 4 Plus on this device as well. So you're really looking at a couple of different trade-offs here. One, big screen, 1080p screen over here on Verizon. Both have 4G LTE. Over here on AT&T, you got 64 gigabytes of internal storage, which makes it, in my opinion, one of the most underrated devices on AT&T this holiday season. The downside here, it only has 1 gigabyte of RAM as opposed to the 2 gigabytes over here. And I think you'll find that through part 1 and part 2 of the video that 1 gigabyte of additional memory over here really does make a difference in a lot of instances. We'll take a look at the applications that come pre-installed on both of these devices. Amazon stuff, as you can see over on the Verizon side, you've got Audible, you've got Google Plus integration, IMDb, a lot of different little applications installed, which you can easily see by scrolling over to Verizon Applications. It's got its own kind of dedicated folder over here on the Droid DNA with Mobile Hotspot, My Verizon Mobile, NFL Mobile, Reign of Amira, Amex Surf, Slacker Radio, Verizon Tones, Viewdini, voicemail, and VZ Navigator. So we'll scroll back to all so you can kind of see some of the other stuff that comes pre-installed that's not listed as a Verizon application. Things like Setup Wizard, and of course, like I said, Audible and all the Amazon stuff out of the box. Now, that's a lot of Verizon stuff out of the gate, and you can't uninstall any of it. You can disable stuff in Android 4.1, but you can't uninstall unless you root it, which is kind of frustrating. Over here, AT&T Code Scanner, AT&T Family Map, Locker, Navigator, ready to go. Lots of AT&T stuff. Device Help, HTC Media Link HD, which is actually a pretty cool application. We'll cover that in just a little bit. Facebook, Google Plus integration out of the box there. Actually, I may have installed Facebook. Don't hold me to that one, but definitely Google Plus integration out of the gate. ME Infiltrator, a game that showcases NVIDIA Tegra 3 and the processor capabilities that it has. And then, of course, Google stuff. Quadrant Standard, which I installed, SoundHound, and then you got YP Mobile. So a lot of different AT&T stuff on this one as well, along with Tegra Zone, which is an exclusive store for devices that have NVIDIA's Tegra 3 CPU, where you can really showcase the power of the processor through games and through the like. Again, 1.7 gigahertz here, 1.5, but two different processor chipsets on both of these devices, but they are both quad-core. That said, let's start right now by taking a look at some of the customization stuff. Now, you'll see a couple of different things here. They're both running Android 4.1. They're both running Sense 4 Plus, so really similar across the board, but I'll point out a couple of quick differences. First, on the Verizon side, much like Verizon devices in recent memory, you've got this Wi-Fi off little shortcut up here. Unfortunately, this is a toggle that you can't remove, so it's kind of a pesky little notification that stays in the notification bar. You can't remove it. It's going to say Wi-Fi off for as long as you own the device, or if you turn Wi-Fi on, obviously, it'll say Wi-Fi on. Verizon really wants you to use Wi-Fi. They're really promoting that over the tiered data. We've seen this on recent devices like the Galaxy Note 2, the Galaxy S3, and quite a few other devices on Verizon. Kind of annoying that you can't remove it from the notification bar. And another one that kind of gets under my skin on the AT&T side now, and this may be an HTC thing, I'm not quite sure on this side, but it says Power Saver Off. It's another one that you can't remove from the notification bar. So if you're somebody like me that really avoids having any kind of clutter in the notification bar, that's going to get old really fast in comparison to something like this, for example, the Note 2, as you can see up here. When it's done, you got no notifications down here in the notifications bar. You get the shortcuts. I like a clean, good-looking notification bar like that. Little things like that where even when I clear it out, that's going to stay there for the duration of owning the device. Kind of annoying. You may not care. It is a point of contention, I think, for some people, particularly Android enthusiasts. That said, wireless and networks, kind of similar over here. You got data usage clock over here, and you got that down here as well through usage. What I do like is you get the Media Link HD shortcut over here, and you're going to see some customization differences. For example, Beats Audio is down in the phone section over here, where it's over in the device section. Both of these are capable of supporting Beats Audio, thanks to the fact that HTC has a partnership with Beats Audio. And you got some personalization choices here as well that I really, really like. For example, let's take a look at the skins. I've got Graphite loaded up over here. I've got HTC's kind of stock looking skin. We can change these around and have some fun. For example, aluminum on this device, and we'll change them over and kind of make them look as similar as possible. I did two different skins there, but you can see you can really customize this device and make it your own, and combine it with the fact that HTC has a great widget implementation system. In my opinion, one of the best out there on the market. You can scroll between your 7 home screens, which both of these devices have 7 home screens, and scroll through and find the widgets that work best for you. So I can scroll down through here, for example, to Gmail. I can see the Gmail widget, or I can scroll down and see HTC's mail widgets, and then I can bring it up to a place that has empty space, one of the home screens that has empty space. And that's really a nice feature. We'll go to weather, for example, over here. Press and hold weather, bring it up to one of the empty home screens, and you'll see that when I press and hold, it shows me the red to show which ones do have space and which ones don't have space. I like that on both of these devices. And I can scroll over to apps and scroll over to shortcuts and add those as well. So really a nice look and feel. HTC Sense continues to enhance on the personalization standpoint, and that's something I think is really beneficial as these user interfaces begin to distinguish themselves from stock Android and from each other, from TouchWiz, from Motorola's UI, from Sense 4, from LG's user interface, and more. I think that's really important, and it's nice to see that level of customization. Back to personalize really quickly to show you some of the lock screen styles. One of my personal favorites is productivity. When you have that enabled, it shows you your missed messages, your missed calendar appointments, your missed emails, and stuff like that and more, which is really a useful feature. Another one of my favorites is weather. So I'll apply the weather, for example, turn it off and back on, and you can see it's going to bring up the weather for Dallas, and it is flipping cold in Dallas right now. 37 degrees, 46 is the high, 23 is the low. I'm going to keep this one on productivity so you can see what it looks like. And I've got my little shortcut for the Dallas weather, which I'm not sure why it's not showing up and saying Dallas, but I can press and hold and drag that down into the lock screen, or for example, I can have additional stuff. So when I get an email message that's not a Gmail message or a calendar appointment, those are all going to pop up. A missed call, etc., are all going to pop up kind of below this, and this will shift up as it goes on. So you got your shortcuts down here on the bottom as well, which you can customize. If you don't use contacts, let's say you use Google Plus on a regular basis, you can put that down there and then hit the circle and go right in and access it. Let's quickly take a look at the web browser too. And this is something that's interesting to me because these are both, comparatively speaking, kind of similar size displays. 720p over here at 4.7 inches, 1080p over here at 5 inches. And I really think this is a great sweet spot for a lot of people. Wireless charging enabled over on this device as well, so if you have a wireless charging pad, you can take advantage of the support that this offers, which is pretty cool because you plop it down on the wireless charger, charge it up, and be good to go between meetings and things like that. So you can keep one on your desk, keep one at home, and more. So 5 inches, I think, is going to be great for a lot of people. It's still pocketable. That's what I like about this device. It still fits well in the hand. I can still easily go up to the top and access that quickly and easily. And I'm not worried about something like a tablet feeling device. And HTC was clear to point out that this is not a tablet replacement. This is not a phablet, as we call it in the industry. It is just a big smartphone. And that's something they really wanted to point out at the launch event for this device. Over here, same 4.7 inch feel that we've come to know and love or dislike depending on your personal design preferences on the One X Plus. It is pocketable. It fits really well in the hand and it's good for long calls thanks to the fact that it's kind of curved on the back. That said, it's not my favorite design and this is totally personal preference. I like the design of this one a little bit better. I like the curved nature, how it kind of curves on the back with this device. And more. We'll talk a little bit more about build quality in part 2, but quickly I want to show you the internet functionality on both of these devices. Verizon 4G LTE on both, or on this one rather, an AT&T's 4G LTE over on that one. You can see I have my personal Twitter account, Aaron C. Baker, loaded up before. But let's load up phonedog.com over on both of these devices and take a look at the 4G LTE performance. Now you have this nifty little bar down here on the One X where you can access Facebook, tweet it, apps, share, and more from the bar. And then up here you've got your tabs, as you can see. I can scroll back and forth between tabs, and we'll keep it on Phone Dog. And easy pinch to zoom, incredibly responsive. I find that the added 1 GB of RAM to total 2 gigs over here is really helpful in comparison to this one. I do see this one stutter every now and again, thanks to only having 1 GB of RAM, and I have a feeling that's really what's causing this. The trade-off is you got a great 64 gigabytes of internal storage over here as opposed to 16 over here, but overall responsive and fast on both of these devices. Stay tuned for part 2. We'll talk about the screen differences, the fact that this is 1080p, build quality, cameras, and more, in addition to speed tests. So be sure to stay tuned for part 2 of this Dogfight video.